Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Did you hit record?
I did.
Okay.
It's a great start, right? I'm not restarting. I'm just going to go with it.
I just hate my brother. Welcome to episode 129 of The Established Facts. We've obviously gotten this off to a spectacular start. On this episode of The Established Facts, not only will I be slaughtering my brother,
sweet,
but I will also be helping lead a discussion in whether or not to upgrade. So, upgrading versus not upgrading. And we'll get more into detail after we've done our introduction, starting to my left.
Prime.
This is Josh.
This is Dr. Deb.
And of course, this is your host, Big Don. As my voice decides to try and crack on me like a 13-year-old.
So cute.
So, we were having...
These improv classes are really working out.
Well, you know, we were having a discussion prior to recording this, which is a completely different subject
It's like
line.
Inception.
It is. It's a discussion inside of a discussion inside of a podcast.
How do we know we're not in that discussion right now?
Oh, let's spin a top and figure it out.
Because then it might not fall at the end, and then you're left wondering what's going on.
That's true. That's true. We could just roll a dice and take a 50% mischance.
That's true.
Anyway, so we decided we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the upgrades to gaming that have been kind of a recent phenomenon. Of course, if you are in any way, shape, or form familiar with a lot of the next-gen consoles or even the last-gen kind of started this trend with the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the Wii. They have been doing, and of course, any sort of mobile technology that you have, whether it be an iPod or a tablet or a cell phone, any of these types of mobile technology / gaming technology, they upgrade very, very quickly, it seems like. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other game formats, whether it be tabletop gaming or board gaming, that have also been doing a lot of kind of following that pattern. Before we get into discussing, let's do our versus topic of to upgrade or not to upgrade. And the basis for this is whether you enjoy the original version of something or the new fancy shiny version of something. And I would like to start in the opposite direction of our introductions with Deb.
Not to upgrade.
I already...
Yeah, this is definitely upgrade.
Josh Prime.
Should I be difficult?
Are you going to be a fence setter on two episodes?
I think I might.
Okay.
Dude.
Take money out of the equation.
ENTP.
Does that help you decide?
ENTP. Oh. No, that makes it worse, actually.
I have to. It's the Marter brothers on the fence,
High five, bro.
and the Demaree on both sides of the fence.
Exactly.
High five, sorry.
Come on, join us on one of the sides. You got one of us on your side to fight for
I
you.
actually understand, because even I almost sat the fence.
I know. But you like shiny.
So you all are
I do
close
too.
to joining me in the reality that
you get
is
distracted
you
at
don't
shiny.
need to change. Come on.
Yeah. We just had two separate conversations going on at the same time.
I
on the
bet
same
you
podcast.
These people that are listening are so confused right
This
now.
is a conversation inside of a conversation inside of two conversations inside of a podcast.
Donald, take control of this podcast.
I'm sorry. Josh, why do you like new and shiny?
Because it's new
Have you
and
met
shiny?
Josh?
I mean...
That literally
In a
is. That's it.
non-Firefly manner.
Oh, okay, because I mean, that is like the definitive reason there, isn't it? I'll put it this way. I enjoy new things. I enjoy learning what's new. I work in technology. Technology is constantly changing. If I don't get to know the new things, I will become obsolete, let alone the other like stuff that's going on, new Windows operating systems, new game consoles, new board games, whatever. If it comes to technology and I don't understand where the .NET framework's going or where SQL Server's going, I would become obsolete as a worker, because there's going to be a point where companies can't stay on Windows Server 2003. They just can't do it. And that's, for one, there's a career perspective to it. Personally, I like the new and shiny. I mean, goodness, I had the Galaxy S7 Edge, which came out in February, and I just upgraded to the Galaxy Note 7, which came out the day I'm recording this. So,
wow.
Well, there you go.
It kind of, I like to play with the new things. I also use that to my advantage. I'm the guy that people ask, if you were to get a cell phone right now, which one would you get? Mm-hmm. If you were to go with a carrier right now, which one would you get? If you were to get a game console, which one would you get? And I can answer those questions based off experience as well as knowledge, whether my wife likes it or not.
Debbie, speaking of his wife, you were on the opposite side of the fence in the not so quick to upgrade. Let's just do the old thing, and I don't mean that in any other context and outside of just you like your retro stuff. You like vintage.
If the original was amazing, why are you trying to recreate amazing? You've got amazing. Super Mario Brothers 3 was amazing. I mean, for a video game player, in its day, it was amazing. Let's just be honest. It really was. You know, Super Mario, the original, okay, yeah, you're laughing. No, in its day, it was absolutely phenomenal. Why are you trying to shiny it up when it is what it is? It was brilliant. Leave it alone. And then they changed, they have the game, the Mario 3 game, only now Mario doesn't look, he's not 8-bit anymore. He's this fancy, shiny, it's a Mario. No.
He's 3D and he's 3D
round. And he's, I'm like.
He speaks words.
And yeah, it is, which can sometimes be annoying depending on the day. And anyway.
He has more than 4 hairs for a mustache.
Yeah, well. Hey, those
hairs.
4 hairs.
They're pixels.
Yes, they're pixels. Those 4 hairs defined him. Okay, anyway. If you already have a wonderful thing that people enjoy, that people have enjoyed a long time, that they want to be able to share with their kid that same experience, why change that experience? You know you like it. You know it was great. It worked when we go for technology here, okay? My husband's in computers. I am a doctor. I will tell you a secret. When computers...
The human body works.
Yeah, works.
It doesn't need to be changed.
Thank you. When your computer system fails, when you're typing your note for 3rd time in a row, piece of paper and a pen still work.
That's true.
Okay? I can't send the electronic prescription. Get out a blue script pad. Gina, just write the script. It still works. But it's not... Did the patient get the medicine? Yes. Well, then be quiet and let's move on here. So I struggle with technology. When my phone... My personal favorite story with my phone is when it could not make a call. It could not text. However, I could still get on the internet. Well, thank you. I have a telephone that is not a telephone, but golly gee, I can check Google. Thanks.
Thanks, iPhone.
Thanks, iPhone. Exactly.
Aren't they smart?
Yeah. So so I'm looking at my husband going, this fancy schmancy paperweight that I can't call you with, but jeepers, it's got a beautiful screen. That's going to break in a second because I'm going to fling it against the wall.
Okay. We can use the insurance.
So I'm going to stop talking now because it's going to be safer.
Is it
all right?
Is it my turn?
Prime, go for it.
So here's the deal.
Marter Fence Sitter 1.
This is why I like the fence so much. Because it's a nice fence, first of all, and I painted it myself.
It's comfy. It's comfy.
And it's mine.
Yeah.
What you do? Put pillows on the top of it?
Well,
seats.
if I'm going to be sitting on it for so long, I want to be in comfort, all right?
There's a recliner.
So you upgraded the fence?
I have like an entertainment center on
has
the
your
fence.
Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, well, my Super Nintendo, my Xbox One. You know, it just depends on the day. But, okay, so this is the main reason why I'm on the fence. It's because it's solely dependent upon, and I'm going to go back to what I said on the last one, dependent upon what it is. If I get a computer, it's going to be outdated, guaranteed in 6 months. Guaranteed, by something bigger and better. If you can't keep up with that, and you're playing games online, then you're going to have a problem, because your particular computer, after 5 years, is going to be... It's going to be problematic, extremely problematic when it comes to trying to keep up with the FPS, frames per second, or, the lag, or whatever, So
He said FPS, and I was going first-person shooter.
That's why
And I was like, I guess, your first-person shooter slows down with an old computer.
yeah. So, I mean...
He actually told a truthful statement while referring to something different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, or, if you want to go into, like, the more social aspect of things, if you're, like, on Twitch, they're completely relying upon high-quality gaming computers and to be able to keep up with their streams,
They're requiring more on high-quality internet than they are their computers.
Yeah, well, graphics cards, though.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, it just depends on the system. I absolutely love the Atari. I'll play freaking Pac-Man all day long. So,
woohoo! Some days you want some Pong, okay?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'll play Halo. So it just depends on the day.
Master Chief Pong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that would be interesting.
Don't
Bunch
tease
of
me.
Master Chief heads just
Don't
bouncing
tease me.
around.
Griffball. That's what Griffball is.
Griffball.
That is Griffball.
So that's where I'm at.
Griffball.
All right, classic.
I love
Gotta
it.
love it.
So, joining my brother on the fence, slightly different
very large
reasons.
fence.
Slightly different reasons, but
Sturdy.
But
Yeah,
it's a nice
It's a heavy-duty
fence.
fence. We
Real
did- yeah,
nice fence.
We
You don't have
invested-
two Marters on a fence without it being a nice
We
fence.
invested so much money into this fence, you don't even know.
Would have been easier to upgrade it.
No, it works. They don't
then
need to
it would
spend
be
the
a
money to
wall.
upgrade it.
But then it would be a wall.
Yeah, and we don't
like
build walls.
Different Don. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, close. High five, bro.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
Anyway, I would have to say that I enjoy being on the fence because I enjoy the variety that is the gaming world. I enjoy having 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future. I enjoy being able to sit down and play Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brother 2, Super Mario Brother The Lost World, Super Mario Brother 3 with my sons who are 7 and 5, and them have just as much fun with it as my wife and I, and then turn around and play Halo, the Master Chief Edition, with my brother on his Xbox One, because we have just as much fun, or Army of Two, or anything like that, where it's considered kind of that next-gen push. And then really just kind of the myriad in between that goes from the original Atari, the original Pong systems, to the newer high-definition Blu-ray disc, shiny. I have always been one who's been slow to upgrade, never because of lack of desire, usually just because of lack of funds at the time. But what I also enjoy about that is when I do finally upgrade to an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, I have a really nice variety of games, a lot of times that are on kind of the value bestseller list that I'm going to get into and going to really enjoy. So, my fence sitting is very similar to Josh's Prime's in that I enjoy looking at both sides and being able to enjoy both sides. Being able to sit down and realize that when you play the original Mega Man, there is absolutely positively no way you can save. And when you die, you start at the beginning. That to me is enjoyable because I know that I am going to have to take my time and play smartly. But it's also fun to throw in Halo and die 72 times, but know that I hit a waypoint right before I walked into that crowd of grunts, and I'm going to be okay. So,
which is my favorite aspect of playing any game with Don, especially. Like, I'll sit there.
Yes, if you've ever seen Josh and I, my brother and I, play video games, when we play Army of Two.
Especially.
He's the one, especially Army of Two. Well, Halo, you do this a lot too. He's the one who has the really heavy guns.
Like the saw or whatever.
And he stands out in the middle and gets blowed up. And I'm the one who has the really accurate guns and ducks behind a wall so that when he dies, he comes back to life behind me.
and my strategy is that I can pull people from cover and he can pick them off.
He's the tank, and I'm the DPS.
The only problem,
if you understand those references.
Damage per second.
That's
For
right.
those who don't know.
So, go ahead, Josh.
Okay. My wife and I just had a similar conversation today, though maybe not in the same lightheartedness, but the premise of having an opinion about something and not necessarily having a preference. A lot of this, I think, kind of goes into play here where when we come into these versus topics, sometimes the decision to stay on the fence is because you don't necessarily have a preference, or you can see sides to both. And I think for me, I agree. Playing the Super Mario Brothers games, I can play them on a regular Nintendo. I can play them in the Virtual Console for the Wii U.
Right.
The game itself is what I enjoy more than anything else.
That's what the greatest thing about Mario Maker is that you can quite literally make the same level, and you can make it in any of the genres for the Mario games, stuff like that.
And I think that the Super Mario Brothers games that have come out for Wii and Wii U, and like the Super Luigi Brothers game that came out, this premise of making a game in that style, in that lightheartedness, those in particular that were still side scrollers, though they have 3 dimensions to them, they're still side scrollers, I think were the reasonable upgrades. And as much as I enjoyed Super Mario 3D World, I think you didn't make a Mario game at that point. One of Mario's big pushes, one of the things that made it so great was how difficult it was as a side scroller. Yeah. I enjoyed the 3D World games. I did. But
and if you ever played Mario 64, that was the first.
Thing.
That's the first one.
It's just like when they tried to do it with Sonic. Sonic was Sonic 3D World or whatever that was called. That was Sonic has got to go in one direction, or you're just lost.
His abilities make him the greatest side-scrolling hedgehog in the world, but not in a 3D world.
Even though he looks nothing like a hedgehog, but
So, anyways, I think for me that this idea of having a preference or having an opinion really kind of comes into play. My opinion is I prefer the newer things. I prefer the PlayStation.
Sure.
I prefer seeing Uncharted and its evolution. I prefer seeing what game developers, because right now, because of how great and flashy and technologically powerful these consoles are, developers can be challenged to produce good content.
I agree.
Because now it's got to look real and it's got to be good. Here's an interesting thing. I just played episode 1 of Telltale Games' new Batman game. Telltale Games makes the Game of Thrones games.
Okay.
They make the Walking Dead games. They make Tales of the Borderlands.
Is it kind of the cel-shaded
artistic comic-looking thing?
I dig that.
It is the best Batman story I've played in a video game, and it's
past Arkham.
Yes,
really,
and it purely comes down to the execution.
Okay,
and
because it's more comic book style.
It's comic book style. You are put in situations and you provide your response, a lot like BioShock does.
Okay.
And then the combat system is you plan your combat and then you start the sequence and then the combat happens. Or if you are in a situation that's a quick button thing, you're pushing reaction buttons, not necessarily walking up and punching like
mini games
in Arkham.
And stuff.
Yeah. But what really got me on that was the story. And some of the stuff that made the classics so good, the Zelda games, Mario never had a big advanced story, but it was a great gameplay. Whereas, from what I understand, your Zeldas, your Final Fantasy games, they all had story behind them.
Even Castlevania, to a degree, has the storyline to it.
And in the end, for me, I prefer the visuals because, as you said, I like shiny. But well-executed games, things like what Game of the Telltale is pulling off here, could have been done on classic consoles, and I would totally be down for it. This idea of Bruce Wayne interacting with Harvey Dent at a mayoral fundraiser for Harvey running for mayor. You know, you could have pulled that off in lower resolution, but I really feel like I've jumped into the comic book playing that game.
Yeah, but you also have like the rather in-depth storylines with the Final Fantasy games, and they were out for Nintendo.
Yeah,
when they came out, and
Final Fantasy
Game Boy.
VII, the PlayStation 1 game, one of the greatest games of all time.
Right, and their storylines were completely in depth, and the only way that you could get to the storyline is by reading the text. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Metal Gear. If you're going to talk about a story, and the story continued. Yeah. Like, you begin it from the very first Nintendo, and you watch it through the most recent Metal Gear, and Hideo Kojima has continued the story. That storyline does not break. It's a great story.
Well,
Kojima's no longer with Konami.
I'm not. Hideo Kojima is Metal Gear. I don't know what this nonsense is that they are smoking and stuffing into places. I'm not listening. I have no idea what this game is that they're talking about. It's not Metal Gear. It's a. I'm gonna stab you.
Not on the podcast.
Gonna be after he's gonna kill Prime. I'm gonna stab my husband.
This is a conversation I've had with quite a few people, the owners of the content. Can create
the inventor of the content. It came out of Hideo Kojima's brain.
And Disney owns Star Wars.
Oh, stop it. That's just dirty words.
You're just trying to start a fight with
all I'm going to say is that Disney did Disney did the best movie that they did in the last 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Disney at least did it right. You're going to change the storyline. They're going to do something so fracked up because they're not going to have the person who actually wrote the story.
That is a Battlestar reference.
You like that? You like? See, there's a little nod of that. Yeah, no. No. You don't mess with success. What the heck were they thinking? The man who wrote Metal Gear and didn't work for him anymore. Why? Because they're idiots.
So back to storyline.
So my thing is this, though. Everything can be upgraded. Everything can be transitioned into a new form of life. One thing that we've discussed prior to this is when people do remakes of things. Personally, I enjoy the remakes of certain things that are done well, or some things that are done intentionally cheesy. I'm okay with that too if it falls within the lines of the reality. I'm not a fan of people making remakes due to lack of imagination. But, for example, the new Ghostbusters movie, I have not seen it. I don't really care what anybody else's opinion is of it. I am excited to go and see it because A, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. B, every one of the ladies that's in that movie is stinking hilarious. And it's only... I feel like it can only compact into me laughing my guts out. So whether it's a good Ghostbuster movie or not, I don't care. It's going to be a good, fun time, and I'll probably go and see it at the cheap seats simply because I can take my kids with me, and I don't feel bad for paying, $2 a head. But in the same respect, some things are done very poorly. The fact that they've done like 42 different Conan movies.
Or the Hulk.
Yeah, but at least with Conan, it's all been Schwarzenegger.
No.
Did they make one without him?
Yes.
Or the Scorpion King.
The Scorpion King.
Oh, Lord.
They're making another Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Another Death Race movie. Or, like all of these movies that don't need sequels.
Death Race 2000 I thought was more entertaining than the first one.
Okay.
I concur.
But my point is...
Well, Death Race was more entertaining than Death Race 2000.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
My point is there are some things that are done, in my opinion, well when it comes to upgrades, and some things that are done poorly.
Rollerball.
Some of the things that...
Total Recall.
Total Recall. I enjoyed
both of them.
The
remake of
not
Total...
a good Total... It was not a good remake.
It wasn't a remake.
Okay.
If you've seen the first one, it wasn't... They didn't go to Mars. Sorry, spoilers. They didn't go to Mars. There wasn't... I mean... The story in the Total Recall with Colin Farrell in it was good, in my opinion. I thought it was good, and I feel like it held up to my expectations of what a movie like that should be. It was not the same as the Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. It wasn't. Plus, they left no question at the end
true.
as to whether or not you
we're-
are actually inside of a dream.
Okay, we're in a remake conversation.
That's true. That's true. So, my examples for remakes that have been successful and not successful. Dungeons and Dragons.
Depends.
Oh boy,
They fall in both of those categories.
like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, oddly
Trek is
enough,
definitely
yes.
one,
Oh,
yes.
they're most definitely one. I will stand there and wave my hand and say, "Oh goodness."
So, I never got an opportunity. I hope to one day, but I have never gotten an opportunity to play the Red Box, the original AD&D, or the second ed Dungeons and Dragons.
I thought that was AD&D.
it is AD&D.
Okay.
It's all right.
Whatever.
It's all right. We forgive
Don't
you.
challenge my gamer cred because then I'll look like a fool.
Did you play first edition?
I've never played first
Okay,
edition. I've
good.
never played AD&D.
Me either.
I'm interested in checking it out at least once just to be able to say that I've done it. It's kind of a bucket list gaming thing for me. I played 3rd Ed. I bought the 3rd Ed Player's Handbook about 3 months before 3.5 came out. And then I played 3.5 through its iterations, which I really loved. And then I played 4th Ed. And
Wow.
somehow I forget those years.
You lived through it. That's
that
good.
year, that 1 year,
that time.
it was our year in the desert until Pathfinder released.
Yeah, and then Pathfinder came out, and that was WotC's best upgrade to Dungeons and Dragons, not done by WotC,
Well,
or called Dungeons and Dragons,
Or called
And then
Dungeons and
D&D
Dragons.
Next came out.
and then D&D Next, which became 5th Ed, which if you have not played, very very good system.
I've heard really good
I think that if
I've
Wizards
still
of the
got
Coast would have,
PTSD.
if Wizards of the
That's
Coast
fine.
would have just continued to release supplemental guides for 3.5 until they came out with D&D Next, then they would have been perfectly
I mean,
fine.
they already had an
They
army
did,
of. Yeah.
but they did it through Paizo.
They're 4th Ed. Oh, yeah, they did through Paizo. OGL. That's a very good point. You got me there. But then you have games that I don't really understand the idea of a quote-unquote upgrade, like, and one that I know my wife can vouch for, Monopoly. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would get rid of the cash value of Monopoly and include the digital card reader. I understand
I'm gonna vomit on my
that it
shoes.
makes it makes the system work a little bit differently. It's a different taste to the game. It's more modern. I could care less.
No, I can tell you one reason why.
Why?
Because no one can count.
Well, when
Yeah,
you're
there's a calculator.
from teaching a child.
Sure.
A lot of what we learned about money and how money multiplies out, et cetera, came from a game like Monopoly.
Sure.
The reality is the kids are going to be using debit systems
Absolutely.
almost everywhere.
That's
so
true.
You put that into Monopoly and it's understand. Now, personally,
Yeah,
I would have
that's
had
crap.
both.
I could see that. I could see going from one transitioning into the other.
Not
but to me,
getting rid of it completely.
I just feel like that is so silly.
You use the game to teach your children how to make change, how to count,
The value-
how to
right.
add, how
Right.
to do some basic arithmetic skills. As soon as I could do basic math at 6 or 7 years old, my mom was like, okay. And then my dad's ancient Monopoly board from probably 60s, because I think he was about 10. Then it came out and we could start playing it and learning and stuff. It was
Right.
There was a learning curve to it on top of playing the game. You know, would you like to be the banker so you can learn how to make change and stuff like that? That is a valuable skill and you could learn it in this game. My child will play regular Monopoly. If she plays with a debit card, it will be over my cold dead body.
Wow. That's intense. This is definitely an intense subject matter for Debbie, I can tell. So the next board game that I can think of that went through an overhaul that I know Debbie is going to have some sort of fanatical response to is the game Clue. We just had a conversation about this the other day. I love that game. I love Clue.
Love Clue.
Yeah.
Love it.
So much fun. It did not need an upgrade or a remake. I do enjoy some of the have you seen the spin-off Clues? Like they have
Yes.
a Dungeons and Dragons Clue. And
Those totally make sense.
Yeah.
Just they're different properties.
We
Right.
have one. Well, it's at my parents' house now. I think it's still there. The Great Museum Caper.
Sure.
It was a spin-off of Clue. The idea was that one of the people was the thief, and was trying to steal all the paintings, and the rest of them were the classic characters, Miss Scarlet, Miss Peacock, whatever, that were trying to catch the thief.
Okay.
And we had a blast playing that game. Tim was the best thief. Dear goodness, he was.
Well,
That doesn't shock me one
no.
bit.
Spinoff is one, but a re-themed Clue is another. I think that's
like the
different.
Dungeons. They have a Dungeons and Dragons clue.
Rethemed, yes.
But I think what's bothering Deb most is that the core Clue game now has different rooms in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't have
A garage
Yeah,
and a bedroom and whatever else. I've forgotten the rest. Thank
I
goodness.
could see in a mansion a bedroom. I could see going with the bedroom.
Give it a different name. Like, give it a different mansion name, like Clue at the Brookwood Mansion or something.
Right.
along
Haunted
those lines.
mansion
Yeah,
or whatever. Right.
Because
Because you do
Mr.
that-
Body's mansion.
Right.
That is his design. That was the mansion. Mr. Body is found dead. One of you did it. That's the story of Clue.
Sure.
That is how it has been for years. And so when we're playing the game, and here's the hard part. When you sit down to play Clue, you think you know what you're playing. And so, okay, let's do this thing. And I'm going to... What are the weapons? Wait, what?
I don't
and
even
I'm
know
frozen.
what the weapons are in the new game.
They're
so.
total. There's a gun. There's still a gun, but there's a bunch of other things that I
gun,
don't remember.
candlestick, and
There's
rope are still
there's
in
like
it, but I don't know about
poison, and there's some other ones. And so I'm literally fumbling,
So
going,
what you
"What
should
am I
do is
doing?"
combine the two to make it an ultimate Clue game.
That
Like a
would
giant
okay.
home with a transfer point between the
Okay,
front doors.
I will
And
even
an
give you
arsenal.
this. I'll even give you this. I will give you a different Clue game, 2 stories.
Okay.
The bottom story is the classic Clue board. The top story has your bedroom. It has
There
your
you go.
bathroom.
It has your garage.
and it has stairs that go down to the garage that
I
go on
don't
the
know, a
outside.
2-sided board so people can play with the classic house
Yes.
as well.
Okay,
I- you know,
absolutely.
I have a
I'll
Clue
give that.
game. I have a Clue game with a 2-sided board, but the other side has Parcheesi.
I love
Interesting.
Parcheesi.
Yeah.
Never played it.
And it's never been upgraded.
Thank you.
It's the royal game of India.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
That's what the
I'm
box
pretty
says.
sure that a bunch of Indians would kill people if they tried to upgrade Parcheesi. So
Or they kill
British.
for continuing
I'm
to call
pretty
it
sure-
the Royal Game of India.
that's
Yeah,
yes.
I'm pretty sure the upgrade to
By the way, don't buy Foster's in Australia.
No.
Yeah.
No.
they don't say Foster's for beer.
No.
I
No.
can guarantee you that.
No.
How did that become a thing just now? What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
So, upgrades that work, in my opinion. Bungie to 343 Industries for Halo. I feel like that worked.
It wasn't a bad move.
It was not a bad move.
Especially since Bungie released Destiny and it was a huge hit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much it right there.
People are still playing
You know.
the heck out of it. So.
Right.
They are.
Right. The upgrade that UFC had being, bought for what, $4 million and sold for 100 and
No, they were
or,
sold for
sorry,
$4 billion.
Bought for like nothing.
Bought for $5 million, sold for $4 billion.
Yeah.
Just
That's an awesome
recently.
upgrade
Yeah,
right there. That's your
Well, the upgrade from standard to high definition, I mean, has
that
really
was a
worked
big
out.
I think that was a big struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I still remember my dad going to Walmart or something like that and seeing a new high def, and he's like, it's 720p, and he's like, I can't see the difference. And now he's got a 1080 sitting on his TV stand, and he's like, oh, I love this picture. And I'm like, yeah, look at a 4K.
Right.
I can't afford a 4K. Okay, well, I'll talk to you in 5 years.
Go now.
Yeah.
Because they're already dropped in price. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was. Oh, I mean, see, that's interesting because I would say standard to high def, whether it be 720 or 10, good move.
Definitely a good move.
HD to UHD, I don't think it's taken on yet.
Stupid. Oh,
I don't-
a failed upgrade that was met with a successful upgrade was HD DVD versus Blu-ray.
For those of you who are not sure about that, or in our older audience, the same thing happened with Betamax versus VHS.
Oh, there you go.
Except Sony lost that one.
Yeah.
they-
8 tracks versus cassette tapes.
Yeah, right. Sony won that
versus,
Yeah.
CDs versus cassette tapes.
one.
No.
Yeah, that's CDs.
That
Interesting. Because CDs, there was no other competition. It was just
No. Well,
CDs.
and that's not true. Laserdisc.
Well, Laserdisc was a
But
video
that was
option.
differently. Yeah, it was a video option. That was definitely a video option.
The 4th edition to 5th edition, which we mentioned,
Yeah.
that was a good move. We joked
very,
about
very good move.
we joked about Star Trek where the odds are great and the evens are
Yeah.
No, it's the other way around. Sorry.
The
evens are
evens-
great. The odds are.
Yeah, it depends on which one we're talking about.
The-
Are we talking about the originals?
The original series is
Oh, yeah,
always
that's
gonna
right.
it's always gonna hold
The
up.
new series is currently
original series is always
sitting
gonna
in
hold up.
reverse, where the odds have
Yeah.
been fantastic. The even was I enjoyed it, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, we really just
Are you
don't
talking
know
about the movies or are you talking
the
about the
movies,
series?
the new movies.
The new movies.
I thought you were talking about the series.
No,
Okay.
in the original movies,
Yeah.
the odd movies were the even ones were.
See, I thought all the odd movies were good, all the even movies were good, except for the first one.
The first one shouldn't really count.
The motion
Like,
picture, I don't think should count because it's the motion picture.
Fair enough, but I'm sorry. 5, we're going to hang out with God
look out
and
for God.
who
I
happened
thought-
to be,
I-
Spock's brother
I-
visiting.
I
enjoyed
understand.
it too, but goodness gracious,
I understand. I enjoyed that one.
I enjoyed them all, and I enjoyed.
But 2 and 6
Into
were
Darkness.
space opera.
Undiscovered country.
Yes.
Space opera.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah,
Space Shakespeare,
That was-
actually, is what it was.
For what? Which one?
Yeah.
Star Trek
Undiscovered
6, The
Country
Undiscovered
was the
Country,
6.
Shakespeare. That's where they
You're
went off of.
thinking-
Oh,
the-
you're right.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry.
Anyways,
Undiscovered Country.
I'm
So,
losing my
but-
geek cred right now. This is killing
it's
me.
okay. It's okay.
is that?
The first trilogy,
What is
Star
it?
Wars,
No, no,
great.
no. What's
Second
the-
trilogy,
What's the name of it?
What?
the fifth one.
What's the name of the fifth one?
One
The fourth
moment.
one is Voyage Home.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fifth one is
You want to know the honest truth? I've forgotten because I hate
the
it
Final
so much.
Frontier.
The Final Frontier.
Thank you.
Doggone it.
I personally,
I literally don't remember because I
I
hate it so
personally
much.
think that Jar Jar Binks is my favorite character in that movie.
Yeah, well, you can also die in a fire.
Okay.
Please, repeatedly.
But
Yeah, the original trilogy of Star Wars
what
was awesome.
Descent, another board game. I have
Oh,
been told
yeah.
by so many people.
The second edition,
Oh,
very
much
good.
better.
Very
It's a
good.
much a
It's
worthy
way
upgrade.
less convoluted.
Right.
Yep. I totally agree.
I'm
with
not
that.
played
And
the
I know,
second.
and I know now we're just giving a lot of opinions, but I think the reasonings that we discussed in the versus topic kind of come into play here as well. Reasons why we would think an upgrade is worth it and
Yeah.
why we would not. So that'll be the question I'll put you out there. My wife, who is anti-upgrade, what reasons would make you upgrade?
Oh, there you go.
Well, I'm actually thinking about the upgrades that I have enjoyed. And in regards to upgrades, I'm stretching it a little bit. I'm allowed to do that. So, for example, shows like Once Upon a Time or Sherlock, who take classic stories, whether they're Disney stories or whether they're Grimm's fairy tales in the case of Once Upon a Time, or Sherlock, who's had, dear goodness, how many iterations have we had Sherlock? Oh my gosh. There have been literally too many to count.
Just a warning: Will Ferrell and John C. O'Reilly are currently working on a comedy version of Holmes and Watson.
You're giving me a twitch. Don't.
I
don't.
I want to punch a.
You guys watch
Punch
it.
a
No.
John C.
I
O'Reilly.
want to punch a. John. Oh my gosh!
You said
Anyway.
you said Will Ferrell, and I started twitching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it's
I
elementary,
like.
my dear.
Stop. Please. We're gonna go back to the
Is it gonna
stabbing.
be
Please
like
don't.
the elf movie when he sees Moriarty and he just
Okay,
starts
I'm done.
yelling,
They've gone off
Yeah.
to
Stay classy.
some deep end somewhere.
Stay classy.
I'm sorry, honey. Continue. It's my fault.
I was listening.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody was.
my fault.
That was totally his fault. Those upgrades, if you think about it, I really enjoy. So I think it's got to be that there is a thoughtful consideration of what the audience wants out of whatever you're upgrading. So in the case of a game, what are you changing just to change for bleeps and giggles? Which you don't really need to change. You're just doing it because you got a hair up somewhere and you want to change it. Versus this rule really is very convoluted and it's difficult for the players to understand. Let's simplify that. Let's add extra rooms to this game. When the game mechanic is thinking about the player, making a more interesting story, making more depth to story, for a video game console, is what you're upgrading going to add to the game experience, or are you just upgrading it to upgrade it? Because honestly, that's where I feel like a lot of it is. Hey, we upgrade it so we can sell it for another $489. And I'm like, what did you really change in much of the game experience? Most of the stuff I hear, it's faster, shinier, and brighter. Okay, thanks. I can also go and grab a spotlight and put it in my front yard. That's also going to be shinier and brighter. No. Does it improve the game experience? Is the story better? Have you caught my imagination in regards to, and the way that those two TV shows, Once Upon a Time retells the story, the way that Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are showing Sherlock in the modern realm today? What would Sherlock be like if he was in today's world and not in the late 1800s? And they do it very well. They being a gamer, and I want a good story. I think my heart of hearts, I want it to be a good story that makes sense. And you're not just changing it to be able to put a new copyright on it and make hopefully some more money on it. Because you can tell the movies when they've upgraded and all they're really doing is just trying to make more money, that they're not really trying to tell a better story. That's what gets my attention. And I'm usually very quick at picking out, no, I don't think that they're actually trying to tell a better story. I think they're just trying to sell me something. As opposed to the ones where I think they are trying to tell a better story, or they're doing it for the experience of the player.
Okay.
Well, what was the thought I had? One that came to mind, and this is sort of television related, but I think it can be applied to the Doctor Who.
Sure. I was
Yes.
actually getting ready to bring that up.
Okay.
That's actually a great point.
It's a conversation that very often comes up because the way the Doctor works is 3-4 seasons in, sometimes one.
Yep.
The person either leaves the show or whatever that is played, Matt Smith, David Tennant, whatever, and they regenerate to a new person to tell a new story.
Sure.
but he is still the same Doctor.
Right. And I think that's
In name.
in name. Well,
And
name.
in memory. He remembers what happened before.
But his reactions based on that memory are always very different from the last Doctor.
Yes, but the root of the Doctor is still the Doctor.
Yeah,
he's
but-
still edgy. He still takes risks. He's still the wild card. I mean,
Yes.
and that's what but that's
Sure.
consistent, and
but-
he always
right.
is.
I think that's a
Sure.
core that keeps you in. Is that the reason why the Doctor works is even though they're different people, is the consistent history. Even though there's different reactions to even the same things from that history.
Sure.
The way he handled the Cybermen in one may be different in another one. The way he handled the Daleks in one may be different. The way he's handled the Master or Missy, for if you guys don't know, Missy's the Master. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
By the way,
Time to catch up.
yeah,
Right.
well, yeah,
You've missed out on that one. It's been like 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
right.
don't worry. There's a lot more spoilers.
But
Don't.
I think that's a key thing that is in a successful upgrade is consistency.
You kept something
Well-
there of the heart that the people want from whatever it is you've got.
I think another consistent upgrade would be considered the James Bond movies.
Yes.
If you go from like the Sean Connery days,
Yeah, I guess if we're going to talk about a series that has failed and succeeded,
right?
Yes.
that would be a good one.
It is.
You know,
No, that's great.
Sean
And been
Connery,
rebooted
Roger
how many
Moore.
times?
Yeah, Sean Connery,
Yeah.
Roger Moore. It's never been rebooted. It's
Right.
always just been a continual story
No.
until Casino
Daniel
Royale
Craig.
came
Daniel
out.
Craig was definitely a
Right.
reboot.
He was a reboot.
And he was awesome.
Yes. Yes.
As a reboot.
Still
I
need to
love
I-
Daniel Craig.
I am with Don.
So-
I actually absolutely loved. I went into very suspicious into Casino Royale.
Well,
so I'm like, how are you going to do this?
And different times too.
Yeah.
Like when Sean Connery came out with 007, the very first 007
he wasn't the
movie.
very, very first.
Who was?
Not George Lazenby, but
Right.
in Her Majesty's Secret Service was Timothy Dalton, I believe.
No.
So
No, Timothy Dalton was after.
He was the fourth.
He was after.
I thought he was.
Okay.
I always-
Timothy
Then
Dalton was
Roger
the
Moore
fourth.
would have been the first one.
no, Roger Moore was well after.
Roger Moore was the second, I believe.
So that's,
If only there was a database in which we
Then
could
that's
access
Connery.
almost instantaneously
I'm
to
pretty
answer
sure
any
that
question
it's
that we might
Connery.
have.
I'm pretty sure that Sean Connery was the first.
Look it up.
I'm trying. It's not working. Our Wi-Fi was not letting me do
Thanks,
it.
iPhone.
so I'm looking right at it.
Nice.
LTE.
However, I would agree with you that the 007 franchise, until the reboot that was Daniel Craig,
Yeah.
has been kind of a fun roller coaster ride.
Well, and you're talking about 50s, 60s versus, 2000s. So
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's a huge gap of time between there where people's interests and expectations in the cinema have changed and altered and gone higher than, you know, they always want to be wowed, they always want to be impressed, and the only way to do that is to cater to their desires. So
Sean Connery was 1962.
They don't have anybody before him?
I'm working on that.
Okay.
Timothy Dalton was 87.
Sure.
So it'd be Connery.
boom.
Because
Okay,
George Lazenby did one movie in 69.
Yeah, I thought his was the very first.
No, the first Dr. No was the first one. That's 62.
Which is Sean Connery.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
And
It
we could
seems-
have been smart and walked in the other room because I have the Bond 50
Of
set that
course
has
you
the
do.
first movie.
Right.
It seems as though
does
my
that?
007 knowledge is a lot higher than what people had originally thought.
Okay.
Well, and I just
Yeah,
saw this
so-
conversation. Steve Otney on Facebook had mentioned that some people didn't like George Lazenby's Bond, but I did or whatever.
Everyone's
It
got.
was-
I feel like just like the Doctor Who. Everyone's got their favorite Bond.
Oh, yeah.
Like next to Casino Royale, because I feel like the majority of the people nowadays just think Daniel Craig is pretty much the best
That's okay.
007. But
I
at the
love-
same time, I liked Pierce Brosnan. I liked Pierce
Gosh,
Brosnan.
yes.
So
I love Sean Connery because
He's Sean Connery.
he's Bond.
Oh.
yeah,
No,
Yeah,
he's the
Bond
Bond.
is him. He is Bond. Even when he's a weird Spanish Scottish sounding Highlander.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like,
Can be only one.
those movies in the '60s were cheesy. They were
Very
intentionally
much so.
cheesy.
And their formula was almost always the same. What I've enjoyed about the Daniel Craig reboot is that, similar to what Deb had already talked about, they kept certain elements of the movie
Yes.
the same. Unfortunately, whoever his love interest is in near the beginning of the movie is usually going to croak.
Yeah,
well,
usually.
And then
I was
at
like,
the
tell
end-
me you're not assuming because Vespa dies, folks. Just
Yeah.
if you don't know.
Well,
That's also not
that's not in the
spoiler
beginning,
alert.
That's at the end. But
That's,
yeah.
well, by the way.
But and that carries in through the next two movies, really.
Yeah.
But in general, I have enjoyed kind of seeing those ties.
I wait
Though
for the
I
tux.
agree- though I
like when he
agree-
gets
right.
into the tux
And the
he's
martini.
there,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, oh, we have arrived. Like you're waiting
Yep.
for that moment of like,
martini.
there's that moment.
Whenever he gets to the bar, you already know what he's going to say.
You know.
Well, and that's the thing
Oh.
that the new
And you
the
want
new-
that.
the new 007 movies with Daniel Craig in them have humanized 007.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Sean Connery was playing 007, you just saw him as a secret agent. You didn't see what was really going on with his personal lives, other than the Bond women dying in every movie. But
All right.
like beyond
Well,
that,
not the Bond women, just the other girl.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, whoever,
Yeah, one of two.
One of
okay,
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
So or both, sometimes maybe I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So I mean, that's really. That's the biggest difference I feel like is the humanization of Bond and honestly how well Daniel Craig pulls it off.
And I feel like, kind of going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago about Star Trek, not so much Star Wars, because Star Wars is not a reboot, though you may disagree. It is not intended to be a reboot. It is intended to start a new series.
It's intended to, but it still continues the story that was already
Right.
from
That's
before.
what I'm saying.
We
it's
still
not.
have those same
it is a
characters.
sequel.
Right.
It is a
Yes.
sequel.
That is what it's
Whereas
supposed to be.
the Star Trek series was intended to be an alternate timeline with characters that, when given an opportunity to make a decision, and normally they went left, they went right.
You're talking about the movie Star Trek at this point, right? Because you're not talking about Next Generation or Deep Space
No,
Nine.
I'm talking about the new series
yeah,
of
the new
Star
series
Trek
with
movies.
Chris
Right.
Pine and Zachary Quinto.
Because
Yes.
in
Yeah.
general,
It's a separate timeline.
the Next Generation cast, the Next Generation movies were continuations of the original.
It was a
Star
sequel.
Trek. It was, you had your series in the 60s, and then in the 80s and 90s you had the original cast that were doing movies. During that time, the Next Generation had started, and then after the Next Generation cast had kind of gone away from doing the series, they did a few. I think they did 3 feature films or 4 feature films.
Something like
And then
yes.
during the time that they were doing those, you had DS9 and you had Voyager, and then you had some other show that happened after Voyager that we want to forget about.
Yes, we do, indeed.
And then
I don't
and now
know,
you have
something.
this new Destiny series,
Discovery
series,
Discovery.
that
Which I'm not
is
sure what I
supposed
think-
to be a prequel to the original series, but not Enterprise. which is kind of weird, but I'm kind of excited just about the idea of doing
The new ship possibly
new
taking
ship.
place 10 years before the Enterprise
Right.
starts.
I'm
Right.
intrigued, but I don't know if I yet trust it. I will put that in my
that's because
typical.
you're an introvert.
Well, and
It
they
is
did the
very
same
well.
thing.
I'm
with,
also
They did the
thinking
same
pleasure.
thing with X-Men.
Yes.
Alternate
Yes.
universes,
Well, that's
different casts.
in my opinion, that's a good.
The Marvel
reboot.
universe is the multiverse.
It is. It is.
Well, the DC universe is the multiverse. I don't know what they call the Marvel universe.
The Marvel universe.
Yes.
Right.
Apparently, there's only one because it's a uni.
It is. But the X-Men
how that-
reboot is another reboot. that I
Etymology,
actually
ladies
really
and
like.
gentlemen,
Yes.
etymology.
There you go. It's all about words. Words
That's
are
right.
good.
All about that base.
No trouble.
Trouble.
Or tribbles in this case.
No tribbles.
So in general, there are obviously, as we have talked about, a lot of successful and failed reboots, sequels, continuations, whatever you want to call them, upgrades to gaming, to a lot of geek culture. The New 52 is a perfect example of something that tried to happen and then didn't do
Time
well.
for rebirth. Anyways,
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is either.
The New 52 was DC Comics' opportunity to retell stories of classic DC heroes for a new generation,
Oh.
and got pooped on.
yeah, it didn't do too well. So now,
Did they try to change the classic story?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was brand new classic stories,
Well-
origin stories that were a little bit different.
Oh.
There were still some of the basis of the original characters there, but overall,
well, and they're doing it again.
different.
They're doing it again with Rebirth for the comic book fans or whatever. They currently just started that. They're doing a retelling, a rebirth of these characters.
Sure.
But apparently they're trying to stick a little more of the classic elements in
Right.
while providing a new story. Whereas in New
Don't-
52, there was a lot of like 90 degree
right.
difference.
Well, it was very much, why are you changing canon
Yeah.
from
Right.
from Superman,
Well-
who's been around since the 40s?
Changing canon is one thing if they can justify it, and I guess a lot of people thought the New 52 was not a good justification
Sure,
of the
that's
changing
that's
canon.
totally understandable. The problem is you still have people who are alive
Yeah.
that even people who are still alive that read the original Superman comics,
Sure.
that have grown up and told their kids who now
Lance.
have kids who now have kids about Superman and who he was and what he was, and then it's the same conversation we have between Christopher Reeves versus what's the new Superman.
Which one?
Man of Steel.
Oh, the
Man of
current one,
Steel.
Henry Cavill?
Yes. So when we have a discussion with Lance,
Yeah.
he doesn't like Man of Steel because it takes away from the original canon and the classic character of Superman that he
Sure.
loves.
But it also
I,
led to Batman versus Superman.
I was not. I enjoyed the original Christopher Reeves movies for what they were, but I was not of the age demographic that they were shooting for when they made those movies.
Right.
So when Man of Steel came out, I was like, gritty Superman who's beating people up in the middle of the city and things blowing up, I'm down.
Yeah.
So that I've enjoyed Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel, and I cannot wait
Which, speaking
for
of
Wonder Woman to come out.
Somebody made a really good point. Apparently, Zack Snyder really made a conscientious effort in Batman vs. Superman to show Superman learning from the mistakes of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why you heard
Gave
him
him a
say we
conscience.
have to get him away from the city.
Yep.
Which is why the first thing they did was take Doomsday. I'm sorry if I keep spoiling these things for people.
You
Spoiler.
I am
spoiler
so terrible.
master tonight.
That's not even a
taking-
year old.
Well, Doomsday. The thing about Doomsday was that one leaked pretty heavily
That
before
was on the
movie.
trailer.
Yeah, it was
if
on
you
the
watch the appropriate trailer,
Yeah.
Josh had not even seen the movie, and he goes, that Doomsday? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. If you
But
read
it
the
takes
comic,
Doomsday away
you're going to
from-
You wanna
recognize
call
it
it
too.
that.
I
I'm gonna
recognized
leave it.
it.
I'm gonna leave it at that because there was a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that
we're
went
not
on
gonna.
after there.
We won't get into detail.
We're not
But
doing a recap.
Zack Snyder made it a point to show that Superman was learning from his mistakes
Sure.
and getting people away from the city.
right.
That was a really cool thing. I do want to discuss in the last few minutes. The reason I brought this topic forward is triggered from the conversation about the recent release of the Xbox One S.
Sure.
And the possible release of the PlayStation 4, which is being codenamed Neo right now, but a lot of people are with the 4K.
PlayStation 4?
The PlayStation 4K or PlayStation 4 Neo is what they're calling it a lot
Is the
like.
Xbox S?
No. It's the Xbox One S was Xbox Slim release of
Sure,
the Xbox
sure.
One.
Because they, for some reason, this honks me off about Microsoft. Is they always do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring out a really cool console, and then I'm going to bring out another one that's 40% smaller. Just make the dang thing smaller the first time.
Well,
And
there's never mind.
So there's a lot of conversation, and that's why I brought this up. Is Deb and I had the conversation about whether or not I wanted to do, was going to do the upgrade to the Xbox One S, which I ultimately did. But the reason I did it was I was able to cost justify it by selling my old Xbox One, getting a $200 statement credit on a credit card, and I think it ultimately cost me like $40.
There you go.
Like it was all said and done.
I was willing to let him have another Xbox for $40. I'm willing to. I can agree with that.
Technologically speaking, the controllers were upgraded. They had Bluetooth upgrades to them. The console, yes, was 40% smaller, and it is a 4K Blu-ray player, and I have a 4K television.
And more things are integrated into the system so that it kind of convenient.
Right, the
Yeah,
power supplies in the system. Yeah, that's
everything.
it. But for me, the justification came down to not that it was a new Xbox One S. The 4K Blu-ray player right now, the one that is the most popular and available, is made by Samsung, and it's $399.
It's
So
an
why
Xbox.
not buy an
The
Xbox
Xbox One S 2 terabyte was $399.
All right.
And a new one, 500 gig, is $299.
Yeah.
You're going to get more out of that. If you're going to get a 4K Blu-ray player for your new Samsung Ultra HD television, you might as well get an Xbox One S.
Because it does more.
Right. For me, the PlayStation 4 Neo upgrade, which that is all rumor right now, is going to be a similar upgrade. Whereas the Xbox One S was an iterative upgrade because they announced the E3 conference. Xbox has an hour and a half. The first thing they do is announce the Xbox One S. They spend 55 minutes talking about games and the features that are coming with Ultra HD gaming, HDR gaming, 4K Blu-ray player, blah, blah, blah. The last 10 minutes of their conference, they then tell everybody that next holiday season is the Xbox One Scorpio project that's being worked on, which is going to be a 4K gaming and VR system. Don't get me wrong, Xbox is doing the smart thing, and
That's
everything
exciting.
that comes out with
It's
the Xbox
exciting.
One, everything that has come out that is a part of the Xbox One ecosystem is going to work on the Scorpio project. It's going to work on the Xbox One S. But here's the scoop. They just told everybody, we got a new Xbox coming out. And then told everybody again
We have
that next year,
a new Xbox coming.
Xbox is coming out.
Yeah. No, I
You can just imagine
Oh my
Deb's
gosh.
face at this moment,
'Cause
okay?
even
I mean,
Mr. Shiny here is going, really?
that's dumb.
Really?
Yeah,
Can't
that's
wait
dumb.
another
and the
year.
old-fashioned girl is ready to just like stab them through the TV.
Well, and I
like,
think
just
they're-
stop.
Sony is putting this PlayStation Neo is supposed to be beefed up to improve their VR experience for PlayStation VR.
Right.
So the whole premise here is to improve a product that's already been announced. Justification. I bet when they announce this one that they're not planning on putting one out next holiday season because I bet this is their Scorpio.
Yeah.
Why
And
are we
I just
doing
want
these middle upgrades?
Yeah, I just want to sit and knit when all this happens.
It's marketing. It's called profit.
We don't need to upgrade knitting needles.
And
They've
it's
been
called-
doing great.
Yeah, but it's called people will buy it anyways
1,000
because
years.
it's people will
More or
buy it
less.
because it's the next
Still
new
works.
thing though. So
Yeah, that's
people
true.
will buy it because it's the next new thing.
How do you all
gonna get
feel
new yarn.
about the video game industry, consoles particularly, moving towards a more cell phone model, the upgrade every 2 years model, instead of the 5 to 7 year life cycle, which actually the PlayStation 3 just surpassed 10 years, if that makes you feel old yet.
Nope.
Actually, I think it's 12. I think it might be 12 years. Yeah.
Shut up.
How do
Josh.
you feel about How do you feel about this idea of the 2 year market for consoles?
No.
Well, I'm not surprised with yours.
Do I need more words? Or
No.
am I good there?
No,
Okay.
I think
My thing is okay. So when you're looking at it from a money perspective, when
Build it right the first time.
Hang on.
Why are you rebuilding it every 2 years?
Deb, you already said no. We know you hate the idea.
when you're dealing with a game on average costing $60 per game, and you got 20 games, that you've bought throughout the year, and then you spend another $300 on the actual system itself, and then they come out with, by the time that year surpasses, a new system that you have to buy new games for, that's $100 more expensive than what you paid originally for your other system. That's a huge problem.
Yeah, except Xbox, which I will say they're doing this, and I believe Sony's planning on doing the same. Everything that was released prior is working with the new system.
It's backwards compatible.
All Xbox One games work on the Xbox One S and will work on the Scorpio.
Yeah, but will the Xbox 360 games work on the Scorpio?
Yeah. Any feature on the Xbox One S, Xbox One is going to move forward. They have said that already.
They're not changing out the entirety of the name Xbox One because they're going to have Xbox One Scorpio.
So basically, the only experience you have is if you want VR, buy the Scorpio.
That is that. From the last article I read, they are treating the Xbox One ecosystem as anything Xbox One will work on Xbox One, but they're going to treat the VR ecosystem as something totally separate.
Then I don't necessarily consider that going and getting doing a new system. I feel like it's branching out, though, more so than...
When did it become an ecosystem?
When they called it an ecosystem.
You know what an ecosystem is? That's the flipping Nile River and the stuff around the Nile, okay? That's the stuff around the Amazon. That is not an Xbox.
Technically, we're in an ecosystem right now.
Yes, we are. But it's not my Xbox, okay?
The Galaxy line of phones are an ecosystem.
No.
Yes, they are.
They are not an ecosystem.
It says, though.
They are a Galaxy line of phones.
They are once.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
The
Donald, your thoughts
so
on
I feel like if they're going to continue to justify a new iteration of the same console every 1 or 2, I mean the Xbox One just came out.
They should change the color.
And they just came out with the Xbox dude. Yeah.
Thank you. At least change the color.
I mean,
which they did. That was white.
Give you a real scorpion when you buy the Scorpio.
Like, here, you have a king scorpion.
Or if
Emperor
you touch
scorpion.
it in the wrong place, it stabs you with a poisonous barb.
No.
I'm just saying, you know.
It might at
The
least be some
controller just
comedy
jabs
relief.
you or whatever. You know? Here, have your VR now. Oh my god!
I really felt that. Yep, that's because it stabbed you. Anyway, I feel like if you can justify having a console, a new console or a new iteration of an older console come out with the backwards compatibility, for me, that's a big selling point. Backwards compatibility has always been a big selling point for me. Which is why I like some of these new iterations of like classic consoles, like we were talking about the Retro earlier, that plays like Sega and NES and Super NES. Retron,
yes.
Sorry. Whatever.
People are going to go buy them.
I was talking to Prime.
No, they're not.
So, what I like about those is it's a new system that is compatible with old games. And again, kind of going back to the whole fence sitting on old games versus new games that we had in episode 128. The idea that you can get a new system that's going to have all the really fun bennies for what's coming out, but then also gives you the benefit of playing stuff that you still love playing on the either current or post new gen system. You know, with the Xbox One, it's Xbox 360 and the Xbox One games, and then you're going to have a console that also is going to do VR experience. I think that is cool as heck.
I think it's
awesome.
I think that whole concept is why people are more partial to PC over console games.
Okay, so in general, the issue that I have with PC gaming over console gaming when it comes to these kind of upgrades is it just comes down to my preference of playing a console and being able to sit down, turn my console on for the specific reason of playing a game, put the controller in my hand, immerse myself in it for 4 hours or less, and then when I'm done, I turn it off and I walk away. Now, a lot of PC gamers will say, well, you can do the exact same thing with a PC. Yes, but that's not what I use a PC for. I don't game on a PC. I get online and I check my Facebook, or I talk to people, or I do homework, or I do work, or I do research, things like that. That's what I use a PC for, what it was intended for me to use when I was in school. That's how I relate to a PC. I have more enjoyment being able to sit down with a console like I have since I was 5 years old and I had an Atari 7800 in front of me and I played Miss Pac-Man for 25 minutes because I was really bad at it. And being able to turn around and say, this is a system that wants to continue into the future, but wants to give you the support of what you already are playing and what you already enjoy. I think that's cool. I think it was a very silly step to make in marketing to say, oh, hey, next holiday season, why not just wait until next year for E3? If you already have it in the plans, sure, okay, a lot of people are going to get the Xbox S, and then you're going to, next E3, you're going to say, well, we got the Scorpio coming out, and it's going to be VR compatible. And people are going to go, well, I just bought the S a year ago. But guess what? They're going to sell that S, and they're going to buy the new one because they want to play VR. Yep. And they want to play the same games that they've already got for their Xbox One. So the market is there, but the execution was a lot better handled in the sense of Sony saying, sure, we've got another console that's coming out and it's VR compatible, but we're not going to...
We'll wait till September.
We're not going to muddy the water. Right. We're not going to muddy the water with a bunch of preemptive announcements that don't matter at all for what we really want to talk to you about.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, people are going to be... If Scorpio... See, now they've set to where it has to come out next
There's
year.
An expectation.
There's an expectation.
Which is good and bad.
Right. Because if for whatever reason, they don't have the system out the way that they want it to, then they're going to say, oh, we're going to do it, next fall instead of next summer. And
however,
people are going to be disappointed, and then next thing you know, when they actually do come out and try and sell it, people are going to be like, well, I've already waited 6 months for this, and I'm not really interested in it anymore.
However, that gives Xbox Microsoft a year to sit and watch what happens with Sony's product. Yeah. Which, being a Microsoft mark, is good and bad, because that means when it does come out, I'm expecting it to be pretty grand, and if it doesn't, I'll be really disappointed. Mm-hmm. But it also means that PlayStation is going to continue to outsell my favorite console.
It's 2-1 right now.
It is. But
it's 2-1, but I have them both, so it doesn't bother me.
Well, and neither one of those companies is going to go under anytime soon, based on console sales.
Yeah, especially since Sony's primary market is PlayStation.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Microsoft's second is Xbox One.
Yeah,
so
Microsoft everything.
Well, this was a fun episode.
Yeah. Well, for us,
yeah.
Deb is getting ready to stab something. In general, I think that if you are interested in any sort of upgrading, or even what I think is cool, and this is something that I would really like to do, kind of based on this upgrade in general conversation. There's a lot of people out there that have Twitch channels and stuff like that, and they play a lot of newer games or PC games, and I really want to start a Twitch channel, and I really want to start a Twitch channel that plays stuff that's like PS1.
Oh, you can do that.
Back.
People do that.
I know they do. But I just like the idea of being able to sit down and play like a retro NES or my SNES, or going out and getting a 7800 Atari and playing Atari games and just chatting with people on Twitch and stuff like that. I just think, for me, that's fun. For me, that would be really cool.
But if you want to play a Super Mario Brothers Mario Kart, so the Super Nintendo version, Super Mario Kart.
I have it.
Super Mario Kart.
I have it.
I did too. Actually, I think it's still in my.
You also have it on your Wii.
That's not the same. I want a Super Nintendo controller.
The controller, man.
Well, that could be pulled off, but it's the same game.
No, it's not.
It may not be the same experience, but it is the same game.
The response time is different. The brain is different, and it feels different.
They're fighting again.
I love it. I love it. All right, well.
Is there anybody out there in Established Facts Land that understands what I mean? That it responds differently, right? Because the guts in a Super Nintendo are different from the guts inside of my Nintendo Wii U.
This episode's going to release while we're in Disney World, and I'm going to see on Facebook just people yelling, "Shut up, Josh." That's what I'm going to see.
Shut up, Josh.
I'll be saying it.
Or they'll be saying it, Deb. You really need to quit being a stick in the mud. Come on, welcome to the 2016. Wake up and experience life, or something close to that.
Yeah, that's why we got married. You keep me grounded, and I keep you with a life.
As far as Switch is
I
concerned,
thought it was
they've
because I paid for your toys and
They're
you played
gonna
with
they're
your
gonna
toys.
talk about Josh and I, who are the ultimate fence sitters, doing it
True.
2 episodes in a row.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
It's
he's
true.
2 episodes in a row.
Yeah, you were pretty clear.
I was on the other side with the
time.
last. Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
are you casually sitting on the fence?
Am I casually sitting? Yeah, mine's more of just kind of like a bicycle seat.
I'm-
I don't
I'm
need a whole lot of.
practically-
It's just a temporary thing every once in a great
I've
while.
got a recliner on the fence.
It's a cushiony one.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
don't want
We don't do the banana seats.
Anyway, all right. So on episode 128 of the Established Facts,
Genius idea.
Uh-oh.
Toilet seat as a bicycle seat.
so you don't have to
That doesn't
stop
sound
ever.
very
No,
genius
it covers
at all.
everything.
Oh,
That doesn't
You
seem
need
very
to
genius.
stop right about now.
What if
that
you
would
get-
be dangerous.
What
I
if you get
think.
stuck in the toilet?
What if?
What if your butt gets stuck in the toilet?
Well, if you don't put the seat down,
What if you're drunk?
What if you don't put the seat down? What happens then?
Okay,
Goodness gracious!
we need to have mercy.
Do you do it with the
on
lid,
these people
or do
that
you
are
not do it with
listening.
the lid?
Are you
Does it
still
have a
listening?
bidet?
Why
I
are you
just-
still listening out there in
Oh my
Established
goodness
Facts Land?
gracious. On episode 128, we established a haiku. Gaming is such fun. Derek's brain is nebulous. Huge Jenga is dread. And on episode 129 of the Established Facts, due to evidence gathered during this episode, it has been concluded that Josh is a Cyberman.
you will be upgraded.
That's right. Delete, delete, delete. Thank you so much for listening to us on episode 129, and we will check you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.